Hello there, it's me again, Osman, for your Photoshop Basics. And today we're going to be talking about levels adjustment layers. I hope you follow through the tutorials, the previous tutorials. Okay, so today we're looking at the levels adjustment layers, and we had treated the adjustment layer, the explanation on the adjustment layer in the previous class. So please check in the link in the description for that tutorial, and then you can follow through. However, the levels adjustment layer is one of the adjustment layers you can find on the adjustment panel here, where you have the color, the fill color adjustment layer category, then you have the brightness and contrast category. But we're just going to be looking at levels for this particular tutorial for sake of beginners. Right, so, and it's a very easy one. I have a document open here where I want to explain the levels adjustment layer and what it does. I had created a document before and created the adjustment layer, but let me just delete it and take it over again. So I select the levels adjustment layer, and here you can see that the levels adjustment layer is applied here, but it's doing nothing right now. Look at, I off it and on the visibility icon, so before and after nothing is happening. But however, let's look at what we have here in our property panel, the levels adjustment layer. Let's see what it does. First of all, you need to understand that it has its own adjustment panel, like what you have here. This is a histogram showing, and you have the calibrations from left to right, and there's a midpoint. This one is the black area, the left one is the black area, the mid one is the gray area, and the right one is the white area. Okay, all this can be adjusted, and you can adjust them and take note of the numbers showing here. You also have the eyedroppers here. You have the black eyedropper, the gray eyedropper, and the white eyedropper. Okay, you also have another adjustment here, which is also like an output level, the black point and the white point. There's no midpoint for this, but I'll tell you how it works in a jiffy. So let's take, for instance, this image you are seeing here is just a gradient of black and white, black and white. What does the levels adjustment layer do? What it does is, if you're adjusting from this point, what it does is to create a kind of contrast within the image. So if the image was without contrast, what the levels adjustment layer will do is to darken the blacks. Like I pull it towards the right, the blacks are showing off. All the areas that are black, even up to the areas that are gray but have a tinge of black in them, will become more darker as I pull it to the right. Same thing happens when I pull the white point to the left, and as I pull it, all the light areas get much more brighter and encroaches into the dark area, simply because there are areas that are just lighter in color. And so the same thing happens for the midtones, okay, or the gray point. So if you take it to the darker part, what we're trying to do is to make all the gray parts to be more gray or grayish. Permit me, please. If you take it to the right part, it means let all the dark part become more darker. So that's what the gray does. The gray is just like doing what the two would do, but differently in different slides. Okay, for this particular part, let me show you an example of what I mean. I downloaded this picture from Pexels. I'll leave the link in the description if you also know the picture. Okay, this picture here, we'll just create a levels adjustment layer over it, and now we can pull the black point towards the right, and now you notice that all the dark areas in the image, beginning from the bottom part of the bush and the dark parts of the clothes or the subject, becomes darker. becomes dark and it looks like an evening sun, or evening taking photograph. Okay, the same thing happens with the white part. When you take the white part towards the dark areas, you see a much more brightness, as if the sun was very high, and even creating some effect on the face. So that's one of the things we can also do with the levels adjustment layer. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about, still under the levels adjustment layer, is the ability for you to determine the black point, the maximum amount of black allowed in this image, and the maximum amount of white also allowed in this image. That's what this one does. So if I increase it here, if I keep it at this point, what it's trying to do is that all the white should look like this point of gray, and that's exactly what's happening here. So no matter how white I try to make all of them look, they will all obey this point, except I take this back. When I take it extremely back, it means all the white areas in the image will get even much more whiter because of this command here. And let me take this back and take this back too. And let's have an example with another image, which I also downloaded from Pexels. Okay, for this particular example, we'll create an adjustment layer, a levels adjustment layer. And now what we do is, this is what we're adjusting, but we may touch this. So what we want to do is, we want to make all the black areas to have a starting point. So, and if we pull this like this, it means all the black areas will not be darker than the darkest area of this image. And so if we also do that for white areas, same thing happens. So look at the before and look at the after. So that's what this can also do. So you just have to take note of that, and let's return the image back to how it was before. Alright, so the next thing I want to tell us now is we can also use the eyedropper. For this, I'll just delete this, because one of the things levels does is to balance the color or the exposure or contrast of the image. So if we create a levels adjustment layer over that, and we pick one of the eyedroppers, first of all, one thing we have to determine is where is the darkest area in this image and where is the lightest area. If you can guess that in your head, then you can use the eyedropper very well. Okay, but to use the eyedropper, determine first the dark area, and I feel that somewhere around here and neck is the darkest area of that image if you actually come close. Alright, so I can pick the black eyedropper, okay, sample in image to set black point, and I come down to that place and I select that place as the black. Automatically it adds a contrast. What it's trying to do now is to tell Photoshop to make all dark areas to be darker and have a similarity with that particular sampled area. And if I also do the same with the white point, I have to look for the brightest area of this image. Could be at it, but let's choose the sky now instead. So I select and click there. So what you notice is that the before and the after, it's like there's a glow on her face that pops out her color, kind of, or the shine over her face. Alright, and so you might notice a lot of jaggedness on your histogram. Is normal, just because you're balancing white point. Okay, once again, the before and the after, and this creates a kind of dream look, okay, because of the depth of field and focus going all around. So this creates a kind of dream look. Look at the before, look at the after. Okay, if we say that she is dreaming of a paradise, we are not wrong, because of the way we have corrected the image. Okay, so that's it about levels adjustment layer. I hope you have subscribed and share this video and like it also, and make sure you tune in when next I publish another video like this. You can also comment below if you have questions. Join my WhatsApp and Telegram groups so that you can stay up to date, and I'll see you in the next class. Peace.